The moment he released this song, they clowned him. Look at his pants, his haircut whack. They judged the book by its cover. But you don't want to judge this book by its cover. See, MC Hammer was crazy.
That goddamn MC Hammer, very serious about beef. Y'all laugh and y'all joke about Hammer. No. That nigga was deep with.
He always had like legitimate killers in his crew.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't all just baggy pants and no shirt doing the typewriter.
Yeah.
That dude was a legitimate.
That wouldn't have been. It wouldn't. I know who Hammer was affiliated with, and he wouldn't have to pay to tell somebody to somebody up. His people would just do it. We from Oakland. Like you don't even. He wouldn't even have to say it. They just. Right. If somebody was making Hammer uncomfortable, without him saying I'm uncomfortable, somebody around him would have came to you and said, quit making Hammer uncomfortable.
We've all heard the parachute pants jokes and the can't touch this memes, but MC Hammer's story goes way deeper than most people realize. He became this pop culture punchline over the years, but if you think that's all he was, you don't know the real Nick Hammer's story. This dude had serious street cred. I'm talking real connections, real influence, real his crew, the kind that made even people like Suge Knight think twice before crossing him. But the craziest part is that Hammer didn't portray himself as a gangsta, and you know it's always the quiet ones that are the most dangerous. But Hammer wasn't reckless either. You never heard anything about Hammer doing someone dirty. He didn't start stuff, but he didn't allow disrespect either. The man told you all already, you can't touch this. So let's get into it and break down the legacy of the untouchable MC Hammer. When you hear MC Hammer, most people instantly think of the dude in the giant parachute pants, busting moves to Can't Touch This and Too Legit to Quit. But behind all that flashy stuff, Hammer had a whole other side that people didn't really see. So this whole conversation about Hammer's reputation actually came back up recently when this guy Anthony Duckett from Houston's Apollo Media posted a photo on X showing Hammer standing with Suge Knight, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac. And he had the audacity to write this in the caption: "I don't think I've ever seen anyone more out of place than Hammer was in this photo, LOL." And you can imagine what happened next. Once that photo went up, the comment section turned into a whole history lesson, and Duckett was getting schooled left and right with proof about how connected MC Hammer really was. But to understand why Hammer had that kind of pull, and why people were genuinely intimidated, you've got to look at where he came from. MC Hammer was born Stanley Kirk Burrell and raised in Oakland, which has always been this fascinating mix of cultural energy and real danger. But growing up there in the 70s and 80s, especially in parts like East Oakland where Hammer spent his early years, that was a whole different level of survival.
Hammer was born Stanley Kirk Burrell, one of 8 kids. He and his family lived in East Oakland, a poor, depressed neighborhood, aptly described as inner city.
It's very, very tough to live in that type of an environment and survive.
It's even tougher when your parents split up and your house burns down, both of which happened to Hammer when he was just 5 years old.
Hammer didn't have it easy growing up, but even as a little kid, he had that grind in him, and you could just tell he was built different. His first real opportunity came from the weirdest place, the Oakland Coliseum. He was just a bat boy for the A's back in the early 70s, running around fetching bats and doing all that grunt work. And that's actually where Reggie Jackson noticed him. He started calling him Hammer because young Stanley reminded him of Hank Aaron, Hammerin' Hank. But here's the thing, that job wasn't just about making a few bucks. It taught him how to network, how to talk to people, and gave him a look at a whole different world outside the rough neighborhood he came from.
After completing his dance, he recognized me as the owner of the ball club and walked over to me and he said, "Mr. Finley, could you take me into the game as your guest?" And I said, "Yes, I'd be glad to." And I got pretty well acquainted with the Hammer.
Finley hired the young kid to be the A's bat boy during their powerhouse years in the early 70s. It was Reggie Jackson who gave young Stanley his nickname after Hammerin' Hank Aaron. The transformation into MC Hammer had begun.
Hammer always had that business mind working. As a teenager, he was selling stray baseballs and souvenirs around the Coliseum, stacking up whatever cash he could and slowly building up a little reputation for himself. And you gotta remember, Oakland in the 70s was this wild mix of music, activism, and street culture, all rolled into one. And Hammer was like a sponge. He absorbed all of it. Still, music didn't happen right away for him, and he actually joined the Navy after high school. But once he got back to Oakland, it all started to click. Music was his calling. He started hitting up local clubs, mixing rap and dance, and funded his very first record the old school way, selling tapes right out of the trunk of his car. Eventually, two former A's players, Mike Davis and Dwayne Murphy, each loaned him $20,000. And with that money, he started his own indie label called Bust It Productions. That operation took off fast. Bust It turned into Bustin' Records, and between the two, Hammer had over 100 people on his payroll, and he marketed himself like crazy. Those dance moves he was famous for made sure nobody forgot who he was. After Hammer officially rebranded himself as MC Hammer, he dropped his first album, Feel My Power, in 1986. That thing sold over 60,000 copies, which is wild when you think about it, especially since it was all off the strength of his own grind. Street marketing, local radio play, word of mouth. His tracks were blowing up in Bay Area clubs, and people were starting to take notice. But 1988 is when things really shifted. Hammer did a show at some club in Oakland that was straight up electric, and one of the people in the crowd was a record executive who knew immediately that Hammer was something different. Now here's the thing, Hammer wasn't desperate to sign anywhere. He'd already turned down a bunch of offers by then. However, when Capitol Records came through with a $1.75 million advance, that changed the conversation real quick. And trust me, Capitol got their money back quick. Hammer's rise was straight up legendary. His stage presence, his marketing game, dude was leaving everybody in the dust. But I told you he wasn't just some entertainer. Behind all that, Hammer was building a whole different kind of reputation, the kind that made even the toughest names in hip-hop fear him. So let me break down why Hammer was that guy in the industry. Alright, so here's what went down. Hammer eventually left Capitol and signed with Suge Knight's Death Row Records. Now, I'm not saying that alone made him dangerous, but let's be real. When it came to beefs, Hammer played a whole different game. Most rappers were out here trading disses on tracks, but Hammer skipped all that and went straight to putting hits on people who crossed him. Take MC Search from Third Base. He claimed Hammer put a $50,000 hit out on his whole group, all because of one line in their track, The Cactus, where they mentioned Hammer's mother. And Search later said that Hammer's brother, Louis Burrell, called and threatened his life right on a flight to LA.
So here it is. So Cactus album comes out. Right. And people on the West Coast loved it. Like, we just played one time, gaffled them up, and MC8 says, I was in my car bumping the Cactus. Right. Album was huge on the West Coast. There was a verse on the album, on the song called The Cactus. Okay. That Pete Nice says, the cactus turned Hammer's mother out. Oh. Okay. Now, the line was a creative line because his album was called Turn His Mother Out. Yeah. And our album was called The Cactus. Right. So we were saying our album was doper, but we were saying it New York slick shit. Like, we had some slick talk coming out our mouth. Right. Mm-hmm. Hammer thought we were talking about us his mom. Oh. Yeah. So we have this big event all planned at the Palace in LA. Uh-huh. We're giving away a Jeep on K-Day, which was the first, hip-hop station to ever play 24-hour hip-hop. That's right. And I've never been to LA. So I'm taking a wife, I got Chantel with me, Pete got his girl with him, Rich got his girl with him. Like, we're excited. Like, we're going to LA. Like, this is a big movement. This is gonna be a movie. Right. We're in the air. And Carmen Ashurst Watson, who was the president of Def Jam at the time, picks up the phone and hears somebody say, is Third Base on their way to LA? And she goes, yeah. And the voice says, good, they're dead. This is Louis Burrell. And hangs up. Wow.
Then in 2018, Search came back with more details about what went down after that phone call, and he admitted he's still not over it. In fact, Search said the whole thing messed him up so bad that he's actually been in therapy ever since. It sounds wild, but you gotta understand, Search really thought he was about to get smoked over one line in a song he didn't even write.
Walk in, and it's the day after the American Music Awards. And we walk into Greg Mack, and we're all excited, and Greg Mack is shaking our hands, and we're all happy-dappy and, excited to be on the morning show in LA, and yada-da-da-da. Cracks the mic, turns it on, K-Day, da-da-da, AM, Third Base is here, Product of the Environment, release album party tomorrow at the Palace, and we're giving away the Third Base Jeep. But we got a special person on the phone right now. 5 American Music Awards last night. He's up. He stayed up on our behalf. MC Hammer's on the phone. Hammer, how you doing? Hey, Greg, man, I'm great. Yo, it's great to talk to you. Yada 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 yada. He goes, yo, I heard you had something you wanted to say to Third Base. He's like, well, I just want to tell him, I don't think it's cool for somebody to, diss their mom in a record. Like, I don't think that's cool. Now, mind you, I never said that lyric. Pete said the lyric, right? So I look over to Pete. Your rhyme, dude. Say something. Nothing. So I'm like, all right. So I say, you know what? I said, man, if you feel like we dissed your matriarchal, that's okay, but you know what you did. You know what's going on in these streets. Why don't you man up and see me face to face so we can figure this out? Stop being a... He takes a call live. Greg Mack, who's this? Rolling 60 Crip N-word. Boop! Out! Security grabs us. We run out the building. We get into the van. We start heading down the hill. There's 2 blue cars. And these dudes get out, Mac 11s, pointing at the vehicle. Pookie jumps out, throws his signs up. They get back in, they leave. And when we went to sound check, the entire Palace, which is across the street from the Capitol building, is circled by blue vehicles. Because the Rolling 60 got like 50,000 members. So they can't get to everybody. And we can't not show. Like, it's not gonna happen. Big D is with Mike Conception the whole time. He's standing next to him. He goes to a recording session for We're All in the Same Gang. Hammer's there. Hammer and Mike have words. I don't know what was said. I heard it was something to the effect of Hammer asking Mike, why weren't they dead yet? And he says it in front of Big D. And they figure out that the only way to protect us to get into the Palace that night is we have to go in as security. So we're in Kevlar, I think it was ACS Security was the name of the security company. We got the jackets, we got the hats, we got dark glasses. I'm saying goodbye to my girl. She's crying at the Hyatt because they want to make sure we get in first and yada yada yada. So we're in a dark van and we see nothing but dudes just circling the venue. We get into the venue. If you had blue socks, they told you to leave the building. My biggest issue to this day is I can't get over it. Because I would love to get to a place in my life where I could just give him a pound and be like, it's in the past. Like, understand, and have an understanding, yo, it was just a witty rhyme. Your name of your album was Turn This Mother Out. Our album was The Cactus. The Cactus turned Hammer's mother out. It was a dope line. I'm good. I'm not good. I've gone through 25 years of therapy 3 days a week. I am not good. I wish I could be good.
Now let's talk about Redman because he made the same mistake. He tried to drag Hammer's family into it and found out real quick that was not the move. So back in 1992, Redman dropped his album, What? The Album, and had this skit called Funky Uncles, where he took shots at Hammer and his parents. The line went something like, everybody yelling, hammer time, he ain't ish, mama ain't ish, daddy ain't ish, ain't nobody ish. Fast forward to 1995, and Redman and Hammer finally ended up in the same room while filming the last episode of Yo MTV Raps. But Hammer didn't forget that line, so he walked right up to Redman and gave him a warning. And he made it real clear he wasn't just gonna let this thing slide. Later on, Redman appeared on Vlad TV, and he revealed Hammer wasn't just blowing smoke. He said Hammer's crew literally chased him out of Oakland, and after that face-to-face with Hammer himself, he knew he had to leave all that disrespect behind.
Yo, I say, listen to my first album. When I did the skit, and I was like, you know what? That goddamn MC Hammer, him, I'm on the whole nine. That came up to me on MTV Cribs on the last episode they had where everybody out on, not MTV Cribs, sorry about that, I'm zoned. On the last Dr. Dre and Ed Lover on MTV when they had the last episode.
Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah, Yo MTV Raps. When the last episode they shot, when they had everybody rapping on it, MC Hammer was there. That nigga approached me. He was like, Red, I'm gonna tell you something, you young, but I don't allow nobody talking about my mama. You understand me? I said, yes, sir. Because yo, we was already in Oakland with EPMD, and we damn near had to bounce up out of there for that. Cause they had back here, back here, back here. We had to get the out of here. They wasn't playing. We was almost boxed in. And I'm at a young age too. I'm like, yo, this is not playing. And he seen me at MTV Cribs, he shook my hand, he was like, you're a youngin'. I like what you do, but you just know I don't play nobody talking about my mama. And I was like, you right, man. Now, I was the cool, I wasn't no, you know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, man, you know what I mean? But I was like, yes, sir, MC Hammer. In other words, I got the message. I heard about you, and I seen your work and what the 357 and all them could do. I seen that. I'm good, my brother, because I got to come to the West Coast and get money. I like it out there. I like the Bay Area. So, yeah, you right. I won't talk about your mama. But
Just when you think this story couldn't get any crazier, E40 and Fat Joe both came out and backed up everything people have been saying about Hammer's reputation. Fat Joe shared this story about running into Hammer at the Las Vegas airport, and apparently that one encounter made it crystal clear that Hammer wasn't just some dancer who happened to be from the streets. He was a real street dude who just happened to be good at dancing.
You know, one time I bumped into Hammer. I only kicked it with him like one time. I bumped into him in the airport in Vegas, and I seen him, and he was like, yo, Joe, what's up, man? He said, yo, sit down, let's talk. I'm waiting for the plane. And he was like, yo, you know I'm not, you know, Hammer, you know, I get it popping for real. I was like, yo, Hammer, why are you telling? He said, nah, because I do the dance and all that. They don't think that. He said, yo, Joe, you know, I let it go. Like, you know, it's Hammer time. I couldn't believe MC Hammer was talking like that.
Yeah, because, you know, you got to realize, he's from Oakland for one. He's from the town. You know what I'm saying? He's highly respected and connected. You know what I mean? All the fixtures and factors know him. He know them. He rock with it heavy. You know what I'm saying? His brother gangster, Louis Barrett. You feel me? He a gangster. You know what I'm saying? He's an intelligent gangster. You feel me?
That's
so,
what
you
I'm
know,
trying to tell you. Like Hammer, you know, sometimes, you know, it's entertainment. So he tried to let me know. We sat down. He was like, yo, don't get it. You know, I'm a real gangster from Oakland. I was like, yo, Hammer, you ain't got to do this to me.
nah,
like,
he's far from a sucker.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I'm saying.
And Hammer physically fit. I think Hammer put hands on foot. He about 4 or 5 years older than me, probably more. You know, Hammer physically fit, bro. He might put blenders on him up. Never know.
Now, when it comes to Tupac, that relationship was a little more complicated. Tupac had his own deep ties to Oakland, and at first, he looked at Hammer as just another mainstream artist who sold out for the commercial bag. But over time, Tupac's view of Hammer shifted. When Hammer joined Death Row Records in 1995, right around the time Tupac was blowing up with All Eyes on Me, that move caught a lot of people off guard. But here's the thing, Hammer signing with Death Row wasn't just about making music. It was a strategic play. It cemented his place in the hip-hop world and put him right alongside some of the biggest power players in the game. And Tupac quickly realized that Hammer's street credibility wasn't just for show. Apparently, the two of them spent some time together in the studio. And as Tupac got to see how Hammer moved, both in business and out on the streets, his respect for the man grew. But here's what really made Hammer so feared. It wasn't just who he knew or how tough he was. It was the way he commanded respect without having to do all the extra stuff, like a lot of these other dudes in the industry. Hammer had this rare mix: street smarts, business sense, and genuine charisma. And that let him hold his position without feeling the need to flex on people. Unlike a lot of rappers today who gotta constantly prove something, Hammer just moved differently. His power didn't need to be announced because everybody already knew. But let me hear your thoughts on MC Hammer's reputation. Did you hear any other wild stories I forgot to mention? Drop it all in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one.